The recording just started. So before going to the content of our webinar, I would like to start first with short introductions, why we are here, why we send out this communication to invite all of you for this training for poster. And then after this short introductions, we will go directly with our two experts, Katia and Roel. Here you can see them on screen about what is the business continuity and the link with the sustainability. Please feel free to ask all your questions in the QA part. You have access to it. You can also raise your hand to ask directly your questions. I can, from my side, activate your micro and camera if you prefer to ask a question directly. So why we have organized it and what is the Be Resilient project. So the Be Resilient project is born thanks to the S3 initiative, which called I4CE, Ingredients for a Circular Economy, which is a S3 partnership, Smart Specialization Strategy Partnership, generated as the European level. And we are 8 regions inside this partnership, and for the sustainability of our initiatives and also support our ecosystem with different ambitions that we have. Be Resilient projects get granted from Europe, and we have this new project called Biotic for Food, which is also granted very recently. And we had this kick-off meeting last week. For all news updates of the project of the partnership, feel free to follow us via LinkedIn. You can just search simply the name of the project and click on follow, and you will have these different updates. About the resilience, a quick look at the consortium map. So we are 8 partners from different countries. We have Spain, 2 partners in Spain, 2 partners in France. We are also 2 partners in Belgium, and then 1 partner in Italy and in Greece. And together we are representing 25 European, that's 2 regions level. So in the Be Resilient project, if you are not familiar with our lump sum cascade funding part, we have foreseen three types of lump sum under this name of accelerations. Then we also have a mobility lump sum help foreseen, but which is closed. So today, we still have more than 500,000 euros available in this cascade funding, and the deadline is for the 1st of February. So we would kindly invite SMEs from your network to also apply, because the difference with other projects is we also accept applications from other regions than the previous regions showed in the consortium map. And also for SMEs targeting especially SMEs, there's a public event foreseen on the 13th of December. So please also invite your SMEs to participate and learn more about the cascade funding and also other type of helps. Just today, we're gonna focus on the business continuity plan, which in which we have foreseen 17,000 euros per SMEs, eligible SMEs and selected SMEs, because we have an evaluation process to qualify the final beneficiary. And at this moment, we have foreseen 16 in total, but only 12 are available for the second round, because for 4 times 17,000 euros were granted during the first cutoff. So for the business continuity, because we have seen that there's different understanding of it, and to align with what we want in the project, and to better assist clusters and their their SMEs, that's why we have foreseen this session. And we have the opportunity to have two experts from Netherlands, Katja and Roel, from the company called Sustainable Transformers, and they will give insights about what is sustainability and especially business continuity. So I would invite Roel and Katja to share your slide, and I will put myself on mute. And for all the participants, please ask your questions, or just raise your hand if you have any questions. Please go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to be the one starting. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Yuan already indeed gave a very good introduction. So I'm going to start telling you actually what the agenda looks like. So we're going to give you a quick introduction of who we are, obviously. Why are we here today? And then we're actually going to start with you. So indeed, do not hesitate during the entire webinar to use the Q&A box or to raise your hand, whether you understand or want to ask a question or you need more context. This is supposed to be interactive. So the idea is for you to have an added value with the knowledge we will provide about the business continuity plan and sustainability, of course, in general. Of course, afterwards, we will present the business continuity and how it looks like in the food and agro business. Recovery versus resilience. You will understand why we make the difference between both notions. Resilience, we will go through the big transitions and what it means for your business continuity. We will zoom in on sustainability, digitalization, and the twin transition. Then we will dive into literally what the business continuity plan is and would look like. And of course, what is the BCP in accordance with the Be Resilient program, and show you which steps are needed to be taken. And at the end, we will actually end up with you to see, okay, how was your knowledge on the business continuity plan before the webinar and after the webinar? And obviously, if there is more questions, we might not be able to answer all of them in depth, but we will send the webinar, of course, via email to you all, so that you will you can go through it again. And if you have any questions that need, or any specific challenge where you need a bit of our help, well, you will see our contacts at the end, and else, of course, you can always ask Yuan for our contact information. All right, let's start. All right, so as Yuan said, we are a Dutch-based company. We are actually both Roel and I with a financial or economical background. I will let Roel slightly introduce himself quickly. But let me tell you what we do as Sustainable Transformers. First, we support organizations to become resilient using digitalization and sustainability. Sustainability includes energy, CO2, and the circular economy. So what we do is we provide knowledge, analysis, strategy, planning, and implementation. And why? Because we think that the continuity in a healthy organization is also sustainability. So before I continue, I am Dutch, but obviously I'm half and half. My mom is Dutch. My father is French-Algerian, so I'm born in Paris. And I had the privilege to live in several countries. So I actually speak 7 languages fluently. And I see that some people are that were registered are from Italy, France, Spain, and so on and so forth. And those are the languages that I speak. So in any case, if something is unclear or what, please do not hesitate. And my background is international economics and business ethics and corporate social responsibility. So those were a bit of the forefront of what we call sustainability entrepreneurship nowadays. Roel and I both have experienced in big organizations, international organizations, and decided that we could do more when it came to really help organizations, and especially either government organizations or indeed SMEs, into taking the first step towards sustainability and towards embracing the transitions that are coming, not only through the Green Deal, but through different crises, etc. Roel, would you like to say something about yourself?
Yes, I could do that, Katja. Thank you. Well, also warm welcome from me from Holland. At the moment, I'm in Rotterdam. That's also the city where I graduated from the Erasmus University, where I studied business administration. Well, I found out during my study that life is not all about making money, but it's also about how you make money. So I wrote a thesis about sustainability in around 2000, 2002. So I'm basically for 25 years already on the topic. But I had a career in IT and IT consulting. And I also worked in automotive, and that is the place where I saw that we have some work to do on how we handle raw materials. So I started to dive deeper into the circular economy, where in a meeting here in Holland, I met Katja, and we shared our view on the business perspective on sustainability, and that's why we thought, let's join together, and we will try to help companies to make the move towards sustainability, because we believe that sustainability and making money can be done at the same time. So that's where we are at the moment, and since 2 years we are the Sustainable Transformers. Katja, for you again.
Thank you. Very well summarized indeed. So as you can see, you see business perspective, look for opportunities and mitigate risk. Indeed, as Roel said, we actually look at the financial and sustainable values, and we understand that often there's a choice made between one or the other. And what we show actually is that balancing both and learning, planning, and doing in co-creation with organizations can actually deliver added value to your organization without harming the environment around you. Obviously, we all have to deal with the EU strategy for a sustainable and just transition Europe, that encompasses the Green Deal. Those are, of course, and you have to comply to legislations, but those are quite complex. What Roel and I did is actually develop a methodology that is embedded in our services, in order to make sure that organizations that we help, whether they be in the private sector or the public sector, and regardless if you would be in the food industry or in the construction or in other type of industry, that you are actually modeled on the agenda of the EU, which means that you would only require minor adjustments along the way, as more and more laws and regulations are actually being implemented. And that, instead of being surprised in unfortunately having maybe to pay a hefty fine at the end of the day. So what we say is actually embrace the complexity. We understand that to help organizations to future-proof themselves, they need to become resilient. We often ask people, hey, do you know that actually sustainability offers opportunity for cost saving? Often sustainability is associated with large sums of money that have to be invested, etc. And we actually show the other way around. So we also see that, of course, that the circular economy is actually crucial for energy transition and to reduce the CO2 emission. But that organizations need a starting point. We also indeed know that in order to become more resilient, there is a methodology that has been proven even within the EU, and that we will look at it more in depth later, that is called the twin transition, that is sustainability and digitalization at the same time. Now, you see at the end, we deliver consulting for a common future. That is our slogan from a company, but this is not, maybe some of you might recognize it, but this is actually inspired by the Our Common Future report, which is also known as the Brundtland Report from 1987, which is the United Nations publication from the former Norwegian Prime Minister and chair of the World Commission on Environment and Development. And that report is actually the guidelines that have been developed and where the principles of the Green Deal and everything we're doing now are based upon. So as you can now realize, this actually report was delivered 36 years ago. So there were already let's say, people out there that understood that we needed to change our way of doing things if we wanted to not harm our environment and if we wanted a just and prosperous life for everyone. Hence our slogan. All right, let's start to dive in. Ru, I'm letting you... All right, so as you can see, let's start with you. That's why we have the Q&A. I'm actually, Ru and I are quite curious on what do you think? This is the second call, acceleration call. What do you think when you hear about business continuity plan? What is the first thing that comes to mind? Please raise your hand or write it in the Q&A. We're actually quite curious to know where you stand and what's the first thing that comes to mind to you.
Yeah, please share it in the Q&A.
Yes, and I also allowed everyone that they can activate their micro.
So, great. Yeah, yes. I hear Fabio. Fabio, yes. Unmuted.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Fabio.
Okay. For me, what I think when I heard business continuity plan, something like driving to the transition of a more digitalized and sustainable agriculture. But it's just a very, very rough definition of what can be a continuity.
Yeah, but that's a very fair, short and concise way of saying it. Is there someone else? Celia Gavo. I see her hand raised.
Good afternoon, Katia. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm Celia from Agri-Food Cluster in Emilia-Romagna. As far as I'm concerned, I think the business continuity plan should be some sort of a guideline document for a company where they could look at plan Bs, basically, and scenario where they could revert to when there's a need, when there's either a crisis or they can see something's coming and they basically have plan Bs. But some of them actually could become plan As as well. Perhaps things that they haven't considered until they actually go through the business continuity plan could become quite evident new strategies. I don't know. That's what this tells me, kind of thing.
All right, good, fair enough. It's quite interesting answers so far. I'm pleased. Anyone else? I'm not going to start naming names, then I feel like a teacher. But Regis Delfrate, please go. Oh, Marco first.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Marco, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Marco.
Well, in my opinion, it is a very interesting issue, which, in my opinion, is linked strictly to the sort of sustainability of productions and of processes in agri-food, sustainability for the long term. This is important also because we in Emilia-Romagna we have several project ideas about, for example, valorization of byproducts generated by the agri-food value chains, and And this topic is of course very interesting in order to allow self-sustainability of the projects in the long term. Yeah, that's it.
That's a good one. Thank you very much. So far, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but I'm quite pleased with the different answers. Thank you. Who else? Marco, Fabio, we heard Celia, Regis. Yeah, now you can.
Hello, everybody. For me, the BCP is not only linked to an environmental sustainability. For me, it's also avoiding stopping a company's activity because of factors which are outside of this company. Some lack of energy or something like that, some lack of foodstuff or something like that. So it's linked to outside factors for me of the company or of the actor.
So more outside crisis situation. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And it's good to have a different perspective indeed. Who else? I see there that we have more people. Theodoros, please.
Hi, Katja. Thanks for this interesting proposal that you're going to make to us with the business continuity plan, your proposition. I think that the business continuity plan is the what if the risk analysis of your all operations related to a company's business. So whatever is whatever needs to be taken into consideration in order to continue smoothly your operations whenever you find any kind of risks that discontinue your operations. So yeah, actually it's a risk analysis. That's what I think the business continuity plan should be.
Yeah. So I wrote risk analysis about your operation, and actually it encompasses whatever you need to do, whatever activities or plans or analysis you need to do in order to make sure your business continues to operate. Is that correct?
Exactly.
All right. Good. Thank you so much, Theodoros.
And not only related to biomass or whatever, because we are talking being resilient and we're talking biomass, but a business continuity plan should affect all operations of a company.
All layers within the company. Yeah, that's what you say. Okay, duly noted. All right. I see some other. Catherine Malingro. Catherine.
We can see that you activated your micro, but we cannot hear you. At least I cannot hear you.
No, I can't hear Catherine either.
No, but otherwise maybe she can type her vision on BCP, and then we can relate to that.
Yeah. Catherine.
Hello? Now it's okay? Okay.
Catherine, well.
Sorry, it was not working. Yeah, well, it's true that for us the BCP is mainly linked to the provision of the raw materials, etc. But it's important that we explain to our members what is really linked to that. So this is why I'm participating to this event. So yeah, thank you for.
No worries. Thank you. I think it's quite interesting because obviously for us it's also very interesting to see, and we see that there are very different perspectives. Some, use the same terms, but have a different conjecture to it. So it's very great. Thank you, Catherine, for your answer. I see also Raquel Gomez and Perla Ferrer. Hi, Raquel.
Hi, nice to see you. Thank you very much, Katia. For me, a business continuity plan is a sort of activity, sort of things you have to take into account in an organization related to raw material, but linked to all the areas in our organization. So you have to be prepared to all things can happen in the world. So you have to be prepared to
prepare yourself to different challenges, whether out the company. Okay.
Challenges related to economic aspect, but also to raw material and so on.
Right. Good. Thank you, Raquel. Thank you for letting us know. Who am I missing? Perla Ferrer.
Hi, everyone.
Sorry. I think she unmuted.
I put in the questions in the chat. In my opinion, the business continuity plan is a document that considers the risk associated with problems in the supply chains of the company and compiles actions related with this risk.
That's good. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Why we think it's very interesting, because obviously we're going to give the webinar, but what will be interesting is how this will relate or will not relate. I'm leaving that in the middle right now, to what you, of course, have to deal with, or you have to, of course, advise people within your clusters, the SMEs, and so on and so forth, and perhaps even as experts or want to share your project. So I think that's great that we have, and also for yourself, you have a first idea of this is what it is for us, and we will be actually interesting, and we will do the same short exercise at the end of what it is now, and how do you link it with your first answer. All right, then we can continue. Ru, are you there? Did I lose my partner in crime in the meantime?
No, but I think this one is still for you.
Yeah. This one is yeah. So what we see is that, and that makes it quite interesting with your answers. That's why I was quite pleased with them to a certain extent. Is indeed when we actually check on every type of case studies when it comes to the food and the agro business in general, whether it's agro-food production, tech, and so on and so forth, we see indeed that the business continuity plans that are available or that companies work upon are indeed mainly focused on supply chain disruptions. And we heard that from different answers from you. Food safety and recovery in case of an event that we heard as well. So when I asked the question, do you recognize that? Let me show a hand who doesn't recognize it. Let me put it that way. All right. So let me show a hand who does recognize indeed that the business continuity plan focus indeed on aspects within your supply chain, recovery in case something happens. You have a plan B. I heard plan B from several people. Indeed, Celia, I see different hands coming up. Indeed. So Cécile as well, Régis, indeed. Yeah. So you guys recognize that. And this is something that makes indeed Be Resilient an interesting point, but also we will indeed inform you and give you further knowledge on how actually even the European Union sees actually a BCP and what it actually truly means and what's the difference between a continuous and being resilient. So I'm glad that we did that small exercise, because it would actually be very important also for you as participants to understand the different notions that we will explain. Roel, I'm going to leave the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it was a very interesting introduction with all the answers that you gave. And for us, there is a big difference between something that we would like to call recovery and something that we like to call resilience. And we want to show you how we look at these two definitions. And maybe that gives a little guidance on the way we are thinking and the way we want to progress with business continuity. So let's start with recovery. When we talk about recovery, you plan for a recovery for an event that will take place in the future. So what you do is today you are going to make a plan. You think what could happen, and then you create a plan. How can I put my business back in business the moment that the event happens and I've got an impact? So that is a positive way of thinking, because you are thinking about what can happen, how can it affect me, and what can I do to minimize damage and get back into business as soon as possible. So you have to, today you've got your plan ready for an event that will take place in the future. So you are in control. So the basic thing is for a recovery plan that you are in control and that you can put yourself back in business. So you are controlling the fire. You have this feeling that you are in control. So it's very good to have a recovery plan in place. So I come from a background in IT, and especially in IT, you see that I worked for a bank, that banking systems are quite vulnerable. So when something happens, it must be back in business the same second. It's not possible, but they like it to have it that way, because banking should go on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's why banking systems and IT systems always have a recovery plan in place. So that's a very good thing to do. But there is something that could be better. And that is what we like to call a resilience plan. What you do in a resilience plan, you plan for continuity. You are constantly looking around you, what's happening, what are the trends, what changes are taking place around me. Is it change affecting me right now, or is it for the future? Do I have to do something with it or not? Can I make a plan for it? What's happening? Just, you are asking every day the question, what do I need in the future? And it asks for continuous exploration and adaptation. So instead of waiting for an event to take place and you have a plan to get back in business, you have this continuous exploration and adaptation, so that you ride the wave of the change. So when an event happens, I would like to say that the fire keeps you nice and warm, because you are not affected by these events, because the event is basically every day. You are preparing for these events every day. So actually there is no event anymore. So an event is a business as usual, and that's the thing about resilience, and that's why resilience is a bit different than recovery. And from our point of view, a company needs both, because at the end of the day, you can be a resilient company, but there always can happen events that you are not aware of. That's a fact of life. So to have a recovery plan is a very good idea, but to have a resilience plan is even better on top of that. So at the end of the day, resilience is about having a secured future, and your time frame is infinity. It's based about continuity. Your business will be a never-ending story. And there is scientific evidence for, it's already from the 80s and the 90s, that companies that outperform their peers for hundreds of years in a row, they have certain characteristics. And these characteristics we use for building a resilience plan. Maybe I can give you a little example of resilience and recovery here in the Netherlands. We are a vulnerable country for water, especially the rivers. Each year, the water in the river rises when the snow is melting in the Alps, and water is coming from France and Belgium into the country. And we've got dikes, and we can create dikes as high as we want to, but dikes are also vulnerable. So if you got a recovery plan, this means that when a dike breaches, the plan tells us how we can repair the dike, repair the houses, and we are back in business as soon as possible. But at this time of climate change, the system is a bit unpredictable. So we also have high water and higher water in times that we didn't expect it, and the impact is much bigger. So instead of having only a recovery plan, we also have a kind of a resilience plan, is that we have said, okay, in these areas, you are not allowed to live anymore, and we call it the overflow area. So if the river rises, we breach some dikes by ourselves, and then the water flows into the country. And that lowers the river by 10 to 20 centimeters. And that's much more a resilience plan, because we are constantly looking at the water height, and in a certain point in time we say, okay, now we are going to do like this, and then we close the dike again, and we are back in the state we were before. So we don't only prepare for recovery, but we also try to think ahead and stay ahead of the game. And that's especially in Holland with water, it's quite crucial. Are there maybe any questions about the difference between recovery and resilience?
Is the notion clear? Is there something that you are surprised about, that there is a difference? Is there something within the slide that you would like to ask more question about? Please don't hesitate. I see no one on unmute, so then I'm thinking things back. Yeah.
So let's go a bit deeper into resilience. As far as we are concerned, business continuity is about resilience. Resilience is the capacity of an organization to deal with change and continue to develop. It's about how an organization can use shocks and disturbances to spur renewal and innovative thinking. Resilience will make your organization less sensitive for disturbances. So what we mean to say is that instead of that an event or a chain of events will weaken the company, if you think about what can happen and you do that every day and you change your company every day, it's like a bit of the lean and agile mindset of continuous improvement, you always stay a bit ahead of the game. And resilience will make your company stronger. And that's why you are less sensitive for these disturbances, because instead of a big wave, an event is just a little, what's it called? A ripple in the water. It's not much. You will ride the wave instead of that the wave is rolling over you. Why you need it? So you survive and thrive when disturbances takes place, where your peers, other companies who don't have this resilience in place, they will struggle. But companies who have this resilience in place, they just continue their business. So it gives the organization the capacity to change and adapt to new situations. And of course, what have we learned from the last decades? The next crisis or disturbance, it will occur. There's no doubt about it. We were very surprised by something like Corona. I will come back to Corona in a bit. But it's very important to understand that a resilience plan, and the same is for the recovery plan, you have to have it in place before a disturbance takes place, before the event is there. Otherwise, you cannot have this proactive approach. So it's better to start with any plan, if it's resilience or recovery today, than tomorrow. Because we don't know if tonight there will be another disturbance. That's the fun thing about disturbances. They pop up whenever they like. And sometimes you don't see them coming. And that is the interesting thing about resilience. You prepare yourself for any kind of disturbance. And I heard somebody say that as well already. It's not only about biomass resilience, but there are a lot of disturbances that will hit you. And a resilience plan is not only for one specific topic. Resilience you build up in an organization for all kinds of topics. And most of the times, recovery plans, like in IT, it's specific made for a specific kind of events and for specific kind of systems that you have got the highest priority to be up and running. And that is different for resilience. Resilience is a much broader type of definition. So if you build in resilience, it will help you in all kinds of topics. So what kind of disturbances ask for resilience? Well, we've got small events and we've got large events. And we've got events that have a little impact, and we've got events that have a large impact. But for example, a small event with a small impact is something like one truck stuck in a traffic jam. For a single company or in a supply chain, this is it's not fun, but we will overcome it. So it's a small event with small impact. But on the other hand, what we've seen a few years ago, when the container ship was blocking the Suez Canal, well, I think we had an impact for more than a year of supply chains that were not running really smooth because all the ships were behind schedule. So this is a kind of an example of a small event because there's only one ship blocking one canal. But the impact was major. And then we have also large events with a small impact, but I'm not sure what to say. So at the question mark, so most large events have also a large impact. And you will see, we all can relate to the Corona crisis for sure. And we had some financial crisis. When I graduated in 2002, the first thing that was happening was a financial crisis. So, and then we had another one, and maybe we have another one. So in 20 years, we're 4 financial crises in a row. So that is, and these all have impact for several years. So large events with large impact and small events with large impact, these are the kind of situations that ask for resilience. And actually, I think that for these kind of large impact situations, a recovery plan will not help you because these events are way too big. For a small event with relative small impact for within a company, a recovery plan can do the trick. I see a question.
Oh, yes, Roel. Perla Ferrer asks, could the adaptation of the new and multiple requirements of the European environmental legislative package related to the Green Deal, or the strategy farm to fork, or the strategy of circular economy, packaging, green claims, climate change, etc., and of the regions be considered as an event? No worries, your English is perfectly understandable.
Perla, thank you very much for this question. I think that it is in the presentation. So yeah. I will leave this question for a while. If you've got this question at the end still, please come back to us and we will answer the question. But I think that it is in the presentation.
It is. Yeah, it is in the presentation, but it's a very...
It's a very good question.
Yes, It's a very good question, Ferhat.
But I'm not going to spoil the fun. So please, please have a second.
All right.
Continue of another
yes.
question.
I'm checking. No, we good.
Yeah, there we go. There's a new reality. We've got a few big crises at our hand, and these crises ask for big transitions. Let's name some crises. We've got climate change. We've got serious pollution issues. We've got lots of biodiversity. We've got geopolitics. We've got economic things on our hand. We've got issues in food production and consumption. We have health issues. And some of these health issues came up from Corona. But the thing is that most of these issues, the problems, they were in the system already for years and years and years. And we denied them. And they got bigger, bigger, and bigger. But now we cannot deny these problems anymore, like CO2 emissions, the single use of plastic. Plastic is everywhere. There is even on the South Pole, where no human lives, there is plastic found. Pollution of soil, water, and air, waste pollution. We've got immense mining operations all over the world. Some of these mining operations could be seen from the moon. So big are these mining operations, and they are really polluting. We've got deforestation, pollution, decreasing habitats of flora and fauna. These all threat biodiversity. Then we have geopolitics. We have seen it in the Ukraine war. We've seen it in the energy crisis. Resource availability and affordability is under pressure. We are dependent on a few countries who control complete supply chains of critical raw materials. So we see shifting balance of power. Well, I don't think we have seen this since the Second World War. Problems in the economic sphere, like efficiency. We've got high cost, inflation. We have lack of employees. It's in Holland the case, but I do think that all kinds of other countries in Europe and in the rest of the world also have these same problems. We see that there's a push for sustainability in food production and consumption. There's much more talk about animal welfare, the impact on nature, on production of food, and consumption is related to waste, and we eat a lot of bad food, so it has an enormous impact on our health and on the diseases we have. So we also see that in health itself, we've got problems with the large amounts of medication that we take. The care system is under pressure. I can only relate in Holland, but I can imagine that other European countries have the same, because we are aging, and the system is we can do more and more to keep people healthy, but the system is full. And also food and health are really related. So also related to health, we see that there are problems with food. And the thing is that to solve these problems and to mitigate the risk of the crisis, you see that there are a few transitions possible. And sustainability, circular economy, and the digitalization are the engine behind solving these big problems. Sustainability is related to energy and a low carbon society. Pollution is related to sustainability issues and the circular economy. It's the same as for loss of biodiversity. Geopolitics is especially related to the circular economy and bring production back to Europe. It's one of the critical points. The European Union has 6 target points that it's focusing on. The first one is sustainability. The second one is digitalization, and the third or the fourth one is to have our production to protect production in Europe, and also to bring some production back, because we are vulnerable, because we don't have these production facilities anymore, because we put them to China, Vietnam, and stuff. We outsourced everything to Asia. Digitalization is especially a big transition in the economics. And also for food production and consumption, we see that sustainability and circular economy is the transition to be. I'm not sure what transition will support the health crisis, but probably we can do something with sustainability and the circular economy. But probably there are also some other things needed, but that's not for me, I guess. So we do have these crises, and we do have some possibilities for a transition to stay out of these crises or to improve.
Roel, before we continue, you have a question for
okay.
In the lack of generational replacement in some food subsector, for example, milk farmings, because the generational replacement, for instance, of indeed the skills of laborers, that is a problem indeed.
Is this the answer to the question, Perla?
That is my answer to the question for Perla. For more, we will answer a bit more in depth. That is, I think one either Fabio or Marco mentioned something within their idea of what the business continuity plan is. And Perla, again, very good questions, but you're a little bit earlier than our presentation. But rightful question, and indeed, staff shortage, skilled indeed generational replacement, especially for SMEs that are usually family or used to be family-owned companies, is an issue indeed, and we will tackle that within the presentation. If you still have well, at least the feeling that your question was not fully answered at the end, please raise your hand again.
So we have a few characteristics of these big transitions, and Perla, I think this is a part of the answer for your question. Transitions are not events that pop up. These transitions, the crisis where we need these transitions for, they are the result of processes that took decades, because industrialization started in 1815, something like that. And it took us about 150 years until temperatures were rising this fast that we were acknowledging that we were in trouble. So that's why these big transitions need a different kind of approach than a recovery approach for an event that just pops up. And that's why we are fond of the difference in definition between recovery and resilience. It's pretty difficult to recover from a process that runs for more than 10 decades. And another interesting thing is most transitions relate to each other, and the problems as well. Because a mining operation is not only bad for biodiversity, it's also bad for air pollution, water pollution. It's got a whole range of problems. It's like a domino game tumbling over. And that's why these problems ask for a holistic approach. So to our understanding, you cannot work on biodiversity without working on climate change. Or you cannot work on climate change without working on the circular economy. It's all related to each other. So that's interesting how we do it. That's really interesting. So to our understanding, big transitions ask for resilience. And resilience is the means to work on all crises at the same time without working on all the problems and try to solve them one by one. Because it's pretty difficult for a company, and especially for an SME, to solve world problems. But what we can do is, as a company, behave as good as possible, and whatever happens in the world, in the economy, that we try to keep doing our best and keep continuing doing that. And for that, we need resilience. because yeah, we are as an SME, and Katja and I with Sustainable Transformers are also an SME. We also want to create a better world, but we are only with a few people. So there's also for us a constraint on what we can manage, what we can do. But we try. Also, we try to be resilient. I see some questions.
Let me see. First of all, welcome, Simon. I saw that Simon just joined you. No, those are probably for you on your chat box from Perla. So those are the things.
Okay, excellent.
So, all right, should I take it from there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, so as Roel mentioned, of course, Corona was one of the events that a lot of companies, and especially for SMEs, but like governments, whether you were working in the agro or indeed the health sector or whatever sector actually you were in, showed us that indeed that organizations, in most of the organizations, weren't ready. So in our first round of questions, a lot of you mentioned there have a plan B or plan C, and maybe plan B can become plan A, etc. Make sure that you are prepared for everything. So basically what you're all saying, you all have a piece of the puzzle, is indeed to what the big lesson that Corona showed us is to, if you don't future-proof your business, then it will become difficult to exist at the end of such a crisis. Because even with state support, we still see now what we call the after Corona crisis, which is that either because reimbursement needs to take place or because at the end of the day, we kept companies on the oxygen tank, but after the state support was removed, unfortunately, they still don't manage to survive. And what we also saw with the lessons on Corona is indeed what Roel mentioned, is the dependence on critical raw materials. And some of you mentioned the self-sustainable, become self-sustainable when it comes to your raw materials. I heard the word raw material a few times indeed, being more efficient with it. And indeed, we, as Roel said, those transition like the circular economy, sustainability, digitalization, those are not just things that popped out of the hats, but when the EU made their plans was also to see, okay, how can we become stronger? And it's indeed to be more efficient and more effective with what we have, and use the tools that we have at hand to do so. And one of that is indeed to use the sustainability in digitalization as one, and that's what we call the twin transition. And the twin transition is seen by the European Union as one of the key solutions to actually future-proof your business for future crises. And actually the report from the European Union after Corona showed indeed that the companies that survived and organizations that survived were already actually busy with making their business more sustainable and circular, and at the same time digitalize their processes, their operations in general. That, as a conclusion, is that the twin transition is at the heart of resilience. Therefore, you can actually use that as a key building blocks for your business continuity plan. Let's dive into it further. So first thing, let's zoom in indeed on sustainability. So of course, sustainability is indeed all the activities that contribute to solving issues that are related to climate change, pollution, biodiversity, resource scarcity, human rights, packaging waste, etc., etc. What we see is that sustainability for a lot of different organizations, whether private or public, whether you're an SME in agro, has a different meaning. And so often the question that we receive is, what does it mean for me? Now, scientifically, it has over 147 definitions. So we will never be able to agree that sustainability means the same things for everyone. However, at the core, sustainability means that your current activities need to meet your current needs without compromising the needs and activities of future generation. And based on that, this is how sustainability is defined within the European Union. Now, let's zoom on digitalization. Digitalization, indeed, is to make your processes from a physical to a digital, whether it be your information process through computers, your automation of production in processes, and indeed, as some of you mentioned, make the agro more digitalized, therefore more efficient and faster and more precise, but also in order to be able to use your critical raw materials more than once. Therefore, trying to actually alleviate that dependency on outside delivery from countries. And we saw it indeed with the Corona crisis, again, problem with logistics, but also with delivery of critical raw materials, etc., etc. Now, digitalization is seen indeed as a solution that is more efficient for business processes. It helps lower your costs, and it also counters the shortage of staff, skilled staff, or indeed, if you have a problem with a generational, let's say a farming SME that doesn't have a next generation to take over, by actually digitalizing their processes, that SME makes them their know-how and their craftsmanship actually not just intangible, but tangible for them to actually continue their business, and who know somebody else to take it over without having to be a next generation milk farmer. And of course, sustainability, which is actually the root of it all.
Yeah, and a part of digitalization is also things like AI, robotic, hyperconnectivity, 5G, 6G, stuff like that. That's all part of digitalization. So it's not only about information and computers, but it's also about more, a more automated world.
Indeed. And for what is the twin transition? That's perhaps for some of you the big question. You see the figure here. So the twin transition is therefore the simultaneous digital and sustainable transition within an organization. So the twin transition works in two ways, as you can see it, which is making IT sustainable and sustainability with IT. So it can be that you are already in a full process of digitalization of your organization. However, that is often not sustainable, hence making IT sustainable. And sustainability with IT, that's when you start from scratch and use indeed digitalization to further sustainable your process. But indeed, like Roel said, it's not just the information that needs to be digitalized. For instance, we see that it's actually for companies that use that digitalization and sustainability at the same time. The report from 2022 showed that those organizations did not need any state support and didn't, or at a very minimum, had any impact from the Corona crisis, and therefore afterwards a new report came in 2022. And again, these same organization didn't have as much a negative impact, or for most, not even, from the energy crisis. So digitalization and sustainability hand in hand, that is what they call, and what we call the twin transition, but that is also what the EU calls it. Now, often, I don't know if, go ahead, Roel, sorry.
Oh, can I zoom a bit more in on digitalization?
Because yeah, I was about to go in, but go.
You want to do it? Okay, do it.
No, go.
All right. so when you look at digitalization, if you will do it without sustainability, we are in trouble, because digitalization is already the footprint of all data in the world is more than 3.5% of CO2 emissions. It's more than all flight in the world. And if we keep going in this space, and we will progress even more, in 2025, 7% of all CO2 emissions come from digitalization. In 2040, it will be 14% of all CO2 emissions will come from digitalization. So it is impossible to do digitalization without sustainability, because we will bite our own tail.
Because digital system, I just interrupt you, because digital system consume a large amount of energy and raw materials.
And this raw materials that they use, we use the same materials for digitalization as we need for the energy transition. And we don't have the resources available for the energy transition. So if digitalization is also taking all this raw material for itself, the energy transition will stop. So we need to think about sustainability and sustainability, and it's including the circular economy. We need to be very careful with our raw materials in order to continue the pace on digitalization and on the energy transition. So this is a very interesting topic. Sustainability and digitalization, you have to do it together as a twin transition to make sustainability and digitalization a success.
Indeed. And that actually, if you do it together, if you do the twin transition, that actually can contribute to your economical, efficient use of energy and your raw material. So for instance, digitalization can make transport more efficient, reduce waste, organize your circular economy within your organization. But indeed, like Roel said, making your digital footprint sustainable is crucial for your organization. Else you create another problem.
And we also heard this very interesting thing for farming, that they invented a robot who is doing weeding in very vulnerable crops. So they don't send people in the field to do the weeding. They've got this robot who is going over the fields and weed out everything that's not supposed to be there. And that's really interesting. And that is part of the digitalization and sustainability solution. So that's also in agro, there are really interesting things going on at the moment.
All right. Roel, you want to take it up to the next one? Now we go really into the BCP.
All right, thank you. The BCP, what can I say? What's worse than a crisis? That is a crisis that you are not prepared for. So if you see it coming, you can duck or you can move away, but sometimes you don't see it and it hits you hard. Like Corona, nobody saw that one coming. We thought we first thought, well, there's something going on in China. Okay, la. And then at once, like overnight, the world stopped turning. And one thing is sure, the next crisis is inevitable. We only don't know when. So a business continuity plan is a plan that describes how an organization can prepare itself for a crisis that will occur in the future, and answers the question, what can I do to prevent a crisis to hit me? Because we have to be sure that the crisis is coming. We know that, but we actually don't know how it looks like. Because we do know for these big transitions that they are there, but we don't really know. I see my screen is frozen. I ask if I'm still there. Can somebody tell me?
I can hear you perfectly, Ro.
Yeah?
Yes.
Or maybe only Katja is frozen, because I saw Katja and she didn't move anymore. Okay. I will continue. Oh. Just a second. Check what Katja is saying. Yes, he says, I don't hear you anymore. Yeah. Okay, then only Katja is out at the moment. So we don't want this crisis to hit us. And because we don't actually know how the crisis looks like, that's the fun about resilience. You don't prepare for a specific type of crisis. You prepare for change. And that's what we like to, that's the goal of our business continuity plan. So the goal of the business continuity plan is to create and execute a strategy that prepares your organization to be able to absorb shocks coming from a crisis, unless that we don't know what type of crisis this will be. And then the value is that that you become less assessed. Oh, yeah. Just a second. Katja, she's not in the call anymore. So the business continuity plan based on resilience makes you less susceptible to any crisis. And it keeps your organization in function because you prepared yourself every day to absorb these shocks. And what we've seen from previous crises, that companies who prepared themselves, they've got a competitive edge and they perform better than their peer organizations that did not prepare themselves. So what we think that should be in a plan related to resilience is that each company should have some kind of ambition. We would like to call it a BHAG. That stands for big, hairy, audacious goal. It's something, it's far away. You don't really know what it looks like. It's on the horizon and it looks like a big, hairy thing, but it's far away. So you cannot see it really good, but it's your ambition. And it should comprise at least something like sustainability, circular economy, digitalization, and the green transition. It should go over innovation. It should have something on it like healthy financial policy, risk analysis. We heard that one before. It should focus on supply chain, very important, because it's pretty hard to be resilient on your own. It's difficult to work on sustainability or the circular economy on your own because you need somebody else to be sustainable because you are in a supply chain. Also, the value chain is very important. Logistics and production, it's a part of the value chain, but these are specifically interesting. You should consider all kinds of stakeholders, also the stakeholders that aren't in your supply chain, but like government, your neighbors, NGOs, other influential powers. Your own staff, your HR are very important. Part of resilience is a recovery plan. It's very important to have knowledge about all these topics. And you need to see this in coherence. It's a holistic approach that will help you. It's difficult to pick out only the circular economy because you also need to look at sustainability topics on CO2. Because otherwise you will not be able to be circular. Are there any questions on these topics? Yuan,
I think we are close to the end of your slide.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, so I've got a few more slides and I will continue fast. Is Katja already back in the meeting?
Yes, she's back.
Okay, good. So I read through the business resilience documents that I got from Yuan, and I saw a few interesting things. the first bullet, it was, I believe it's the summary of the document. It says, be resilient lump sums are aimed to biomass resilience of food producing and processing SMEs through green and digitalized value chain. In the focus of the document stood, a BCP should refer to processes within logistics, production, raw materials, additional use. And at the notes of the plan itself, it said a business continuity plan is a document that consists of the critical information an organization needs to continue operating during an in-plant event. So what is interesting about this is that I see a lot of topics that we already spoke about, but the first two bullets, from my point of view, are about resilience, and the third bullet is about recovery. So the topic of recovery and resilience are closely related, but easily mixed. And they, from our point of view, they are different. So when we look on creating a BCP, maybe it's interesting to see that a company has a strategy. A part of this strategy, you should have a resilience plan. And part of the resilience plan, there's this recovery plan for these specific events. And the resilience plan should be embedded in the company strategy, because when you think about continuity, that's a strategic issue. And resilience is about continuity. So I would suggest that the resilience plan would be a part of the company strategy, and the recovery plan is part of the resilience plan. So when we put the most important building blocks of the BCP together, we've got the BHAG, the twin transition, and the business processes. What will probably would be the logistics and the production facilities. You've got two options. You can get a recovery plan, or you can get a resilience plan. Dus what steps you could take is that first you set your BHAG on maybe only on biomass, but maybe you can make it broader. But the BCP guidance said it would be on biomass, and you set a BHAG on company level. Then at the second step, you can do a transition analysis on sustainability, circularity, and on digitalizations, and you look on the opportunities and threats you've got. The same thing you do for your business process analysis. You've got the value chain, logistics, production, and finance, because we look at the world from a business perspective. We always look at finance, and you look what are my internal strengths and weaknesses. And after that, you've got you looked around in the world with your twin transition analysis. You looked in your own company with the business process analysis, and then you can create a plan. You can create a recovery plan, and you can create a resilience plan. And as you see below, the recovery plan is focused on actions on specific events that can take place, and the resilience plan is more to explore and adapt and change on the bigger waves we see in the world. These are focused on the big transitions. And you can do both within the BCP. So that is how we would take a look at the BCP and the possibilities you have, and the large steps you should or could take in a BCP. And it will give you two options. Maybe you create two plans. One, a recovery plan, and one will be a resilience plan. So that's the presentation about business continuity. That's how we look at this topic. And I do think that the initiative that was taken is a very good one. And I hope that a lot of companies will go forward with this, because it's really important to strengthen the companies, because there's a lot of work and a lot of threats that are coming our way. Thank you. Katja, can you take over again?
Yes, now we cannot hear you. No, we can see your mouse moving, but we cannot hear you. Maybe just before getting Katja back with us, with the micro, correct micro. Thank you, Ro and Katja, for the presentation. We are behind of the schedule, so I won't take too many times from our participants. But in any case, I think all questions asked in the QA session, and also different questions from the participants, you already gave an answer. Otherwise, I will share your contact to all participants, because we also have registered and that are who are not here today with us. So please send me your slide that I can put it in the attachment of my emails, and you will be in copy of this follow-up email. And I would invite all participants, if you have any questions just after the sessions, please reach out to Ro and Katja. They are very active, so do not hesitate for questions. And of course, via the Be Resilient lump sum framework, they can be a perfect subcontractor for SMEs, because in that part we have foreseen budget for personal cost, but at least 50% of this amount, which is 17,000 euros, should go for an external expert. Yes, we would like to support companies with external expertise and encourage them to go further with the BCP, and of course going further with the resilience. So that's it from my part. Thank you again, Ro, Katja. I hope she will come back very soon. But anyway, on the 13th of December, we can hear you again, even with a shorter time. And again, if you have questions, it will be also a perfect opportunity to ask during that session on December 13th. So I will quickly end up our session. Sorry for the delay, but it was very interesting to hear you all with your thought on the BCP, and this enable our expert to also adapt the presentation. So I wish you have a nice day and a nice end of week, and you will read me by email very soon with the contact from of Ro and Katja. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you all.